Hello and welcome to a new video. For today's video I've busted out some old sketchbooks that you might have seen before in my sketchbook tours. I've been wanting to redraw some of my old Kara art, specifically two of my original Draw This in Your Style challenges. The first piece that you saw was actually the very first challenge for that I'd ever done, and I've been in the mood recently to kind of change how Kara looks slightly. As you can see on this spread here, I've given her slightly longer hair, which I really like, and so for this I will be using these watercolor pencils that Arrtx has kindly sent me, as well as a little watercolor pad. So to start this off, I just wanted to loosen up a little bit and get an idea of what I wanted to draw. I've been drawing a lot recently just with biro, because if you saw my last video, I have been using biro in my little ideas book and it's just been so fun. So I've moved to using that in my sketchbook as well. So I wanted to just sketch down Kara in those original poses, but with her new hair. Her style hasn't really updated that much. It is mostly just her hair, but also my drawing style has changed a bit. So I guess I was just trying to get a feel of it in my current position. So that's what I'm doing here, and I will get to the watercolor pencils later after I've gotten these down. And yeah, it was just really fun to go back to her original place again, because as I've mentioned in videos before, she is actually a lead singer of her band. Her band is called The Graveyard Bash, which I just think is really cute because it's made up of supernatural creatures, so I think it kind of fits it perfectly. She is the lead singer. Caesar, who is her boyfriend, he is on guitar. Then there is Greta, and she is on the keyboard. And Nick, who I've probably drawn the least, he is a werewolf and he is on the drums. And he's someone that I should probably draw some more of, because like I don't draw my OCs that much aside from Kara. They all need fleshing out, but he is probably the most neglected of them all. So yeah, I was initially planning on giving her a new outfit, but as I was drawing, I drew her old outfit, minus the like semi-see-through top that I think I did when I was younger, because my mind was like, well, you can't just draw her in a straight up bra or whatever this top is, and now I'm like, why not? Just put her in a bra. But I didn't change her outfit that much, which is strange. I kind of wish I had, and I might do that again in the future, because she is someone that I like to draw in lots of different outfits. But I guess maybe my brain just wasn't working and I kind of just wanted it to be more true or more reflective of the original piece. So I don't mind it. It still turned out really cute. I really like how it ended up. And yeah, I really enjoy drawing in biro. It forces me to be really loose and kind of just accept the mistakes. As you can see with her arm, I got the sizes wrong multiple times, and it did bother me a little bit, especially because I'm doing it for a video, so then I could feel the pressure of the fact that this is being recorded. But ultimately it gets hidden a bit more because I then add the thicker outlines, which shows you what parts you should be looking at, and then a bit later I kind of colour the background in a bit that makes it even more apparent. So after drawing the one of her sort of singing, smiling into a microphone, I also redrew the one of her with her tiger Dijkstra. I think I've mentioned this before, but her tiger is named after the Witcher character from the game, not the show, because I really liked that character. I thought he was really cool. And her tiger is a pink tiger, which I don't know how well that came across in the original picture, because that was one of the first times I had used alcohol markers and I got really nervous with committing to strong colours. so it is a very, very pale piece, and it could be like written off as just like it's a pastel colour scheme, but in truth it is just because I was scared to use darker colours, and I was like, that's good enough, that's gonna work fine. So yeah, I am redrawing the pose here because I did think it was a really cute pose, but I realised not long after I made the original one that considering I hadn't drawn Kara that much and I hadn't shown her off on my Instagram that much, I was like, this is actually a really, really bad draw this in your style challenge, because her arms were covering her face, so it was really hard to actually see what she looked like. And people managed, they did a really, really good job with redrawing it, which I was really impressed by because I kind of sabotaged it. Yeah, I was really, really happy with how many people took part in that. This video initially was supposed to be me making another Draw This in Your Style challenge, but that's not what ended up happening. I would like to make another one at some point, and I know some of you guys have been asking for it, so I really want to do that. It's just my brain has not been giving me any ideas in that regard lately, so I probably want to do one of my OCs, and it's probably gonna end up being Kara. But if you guys have any ideas or suggestions of what you would really like to see from me for a Draw This in Your Style, feel free to leave them down below. I'm always so appreciative of the ideas you guys share with me. If you have any, I would love to hear them. But for this piece, I do think it's really cute, which is why I redrew it. I don't entirely know what's going on, but she is just lounging up against Dijkstra, and there's this like glowing orb above her, and I don't know if she's like trying to catch it or if she's just like trying to will it down into her hands, but it's like floating above her, and it's this really weird circle shape. I think I drew it at the time because I doodled it somewhere and I was like, hey, that's kind of cute. It looks a bit like those nautical charts, those nautical star charts or something, which I was really into at one point, so that's why I made the background like that, which I really like. So I tried to keep that here as well, but I added more of my like star shapes that I think I'm known for, or at least I used to be known for at one point. I was obsessed with drawing sparkles. So yeah, now that I have got these doodles down and I was feeling pretty good about making art because I've been away from the camera for a while, it was time to bust out the pencils. I was really looking forward to trying these because I haven't used watercolor pencils since I was like a toddler, you know, a young child, and I used to use them so badly. I was really terrible at using them. So I was really excited to see how I've changed and if I could learn anything new. I did actually watch a quick small tutorial on YouTube, which I will leave in the description below because it actually really helped me. It had multiple techniques, and that's where I kind of figured out how to use these. And I was also really happy that Arrtx actually included a swatch sheet, because, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like this is the first one I've ever gotten in a collaboration with them. So I started off by testing some swatches in this actual sketchbook here. It wasn't supposed to be like a proper comparison thing of like, is this paper better than the watercolor paper or anything? It was more that I wanted to see, because I like using the items in this book, I just wanted to see, would the pencils work at all in this book? And they do. You can see when I'm doing the like color blending and just the rough swatches that they do work. As you will see later in the video, they don't work if you layer them too much. Like, you can layer them to an extent, but because this book I'm using is the Ohuhu marker pad, it is made more for markers, as the name suggests, which means that things like watercolor and gouache, those kind of things don't really work well because they don't soak into the paper the same way. They kind of sit on top of it a bit more. So there are a couple points where pigment will get picked up instead of blending in. Like, it wipes off very easily. I had this when I did a gouache painting ages ago in this book. The first layer would go down fine, but then the second layer would just pick it up and kind of erase what was already there. These pencils can rub out to an extent. You can't remove them entirely, but they do rub out a little bit. Once you've painted them, however, though, I found that you kind of can't. You can't rub them out, really. So moving on, I wanted to do another Kara piece. Well, I'm just constantly drawing Kara in this video, so yeah, every piece is a Kara piece. And I wanted to draw her singing, so that is what I did. And I think I got her pose a little wrong, but I think it looks okay. I started by sketching in blue because she is a blue character, so I thought if the lines are going to blend with the colours I use later, it makes more sense to use a blue, because then if it does blend, it's just her skin colour. And I was initially going to leave it as a simple piece. I was just going to leave it as like a blue and an orange piece, so having the orange be like the highlights and the blue be the shadows and the midtones. But I kind of got carried away and I immediately didn't do that, and I just added loads of purples and shading, and I kind of tried to turn it into a more dramatic piece. I really like how it turned out, but it is also kind of like muddy by the end because I used too many colours, I think, and then with how they react on this paper, I think it looked a bit odd. But I found that my preferred way of using these pencils is to do an initial layer of pencil, then use the water, so it's basically got a nice wash colour background, and then go over it again with the pencil afterwards to just refine it, add some darker colours, and I might use water again on the later layers, but for the most part, after the first wash, I don't do many more. I really like how it looks. I think it gives it more texture because I like using the water, but then I also think sometimes it can make it into a bit of a blobby mess. I'm still learning how to use these pencils, so for me, I think I was probably doing it wrong. It's definitely something I want to practice more of, which is why I did so much in this video. I just felt like I wasn't getting the hang of it, and I just wanted to keep practicing and give these pencils a fair shot. I tried adding some black and some dark purples to this piece to define areas, but also because I wanted to make it obvious that there are some areas that are just not being lit up, and I think that comes through. I need to do more lighting studies, I think, because I typically don't do that kind of thing. I just do bog standard lighting, but this kind of thing intrigues me and it's something I want to get better at, so I need to do more studies, I believe. I then, for some reason, decided to make the background red, and I think I regret it, but then I also don't know what other colour would have been better that would create the contrast between the background and her. It definitely needed a background. I think it makes it too dark. I don't know what I was going for. I was struggling a lot with this one. So then I just wanted to finish this page, so I had a completed page. In this little space here, I wanted to do another of one of the original pictures I'd done of Kara. I think this is one of the very first ones I'd done of her when I decided that she was going to be like an OC that stuck around. It's when I was ironing out her design a bit. So yeah, I wanted to redraw that one as well because it felt like quite an important piece. Yeah, I think I went for a darker pencil this time, but still blue for the same reason as last time. And I really like how it started off. I really like how her face looks, but towards the end I do something to her face and I don't like it as much. Just a spoiler. I am not sure at what stage I change it, but something about her face changes. It might be because I make her smile at some point, maybe that's the problem. So here you can see, again, I'm doing the exact same thing of putting down a light layer of pencil first and then turning it into a wash. You can see very clearly here on the hair, the whole, it's not really soaking into the page and it's just sitting on top, which is why you get like those weird smudgy streaks. Like I said, it does work in this book. It's just a bit janky, so I'll probably try it again, like keep using it in my book in the future. But yeah, I really like the range of colours you get in this set. I really like getting those dark colours, not just blacks, because as you can see, I use like a dark purple or a dark blue for outlining her. And I really like it because it gets the depth across, it gets the darkness across, but it's still really colourful. I added some red because when I did a small video over Christmas, I used red in that video and discovered that I really like having pops of red in my pieces. So it might not make sense to have it where it is, but I really liked using it as kind of like the shadow areas on her hair a little bit. I just think it makes it look a bit more interesting. And as you can see, her face is at a point where I don't know why I don't like it. It might be the little bit of pink I put on under her mouth. That might be it. Moving on to the little book again, I wanted to just do a bit more experimenting and try and figure out the pencils a bit more because, like I said, I was still at a point here where I wasn't feeling confident with using them and I was just not understanding how to use them. And it could be purely because up to this point I'd really been doing it on the wrong paper. So I drew yet another Kara, this time a simple cute version because I didn't want to make it too complicated and I really love drawing in this simple style. Yeah, this was just to get a better understanding of how to mix the pencils and mix them when they're wet, and do I prefer mixing colours while they're both wet, like putting all the colours down first and then wetting it, or is it better to do it in layers? It's also a really good example. You can see how saturated it becomes because it looks really blotchy when it was just the pencil, but then as you add the water and it fills in the white gaps more, it just looks really nice. It really is just a lot of me drawing Kara in this video. I think it is because she is just a comfort character of mine, so drawing her when I don't know what to do just seems like the easiest thing to do. Here I wanted to test another technique that I learned from that video, which I already knew about, but I didn't know if it was like a proper thing to do or if that was just something that young me messed around with. You can actually dip the pencil themselves into the water so that the paint kind of comes off the pencil, but I found it creates an inconsistent texture. So you can see that it does come off a little bit, like quite thick, but it is so minimal that it almost seems pointless unless your page is already wet maybe. But I just found that it kind of wasn't worth dipping the pencil. And I left it in the water for quite a while, but it seemed to only be the surface layer of the pencil that got wet, so I don't know, it doesn't seem worth it to me in that regard. I really like how this little Kara turned out. It looks really soft and really cute. I really needed it after the previous page that I'd done where I really wasn't feeling that confident with using these. Just doing this small mess around with her on the watercolour paper made me feel a lot better about trying again and carrying on. Right, so after that we do one more piece. And I wanted to do the constellation piece with Dijkstra. I was initially planning on only having it be on one of the pages, as you can see here, the one that I'm starting on, but with how I sized it, like I knew it wouldn't have the whole piece on it, otherwise it would have to be so small, but with how I sized it, I thought it looked kind of funky with just the one page, so I spread across both pages, which is good because I did want to test if this paper could be worked on both sides. Thankfully it is. It's really, really good. The previous sides that I'd had the swatching and testing on, nothing happened with it, didn't bleed, nothing happened. It was perfectly fine. It took it really well. But yeah, I knew this piece would be really zoomed in, and it just made more sense after I spread it over the other page as well. And I was really, really struggling with this initially because, as I said, I'd been having a hard time figuring it out. It was a big adjustment, a big learning curve, and I still don't know if I fully 100% figured out how to use these pencils, but I do think I'm at a better place than I was when I started. This piece is what did it for me, because you'll see as I get going, it looks very unsure. It doesn't look like I know what I was doing. I think it was very clear that I was a bit new to it. But as I kept going and kept working it, it started to look better and more refined and more of what I had in my head. So yeah, it was just an interesting piece. Different medium to my original one, but it was really fun to see how I would have done the original one now. So yeah, I'm really glad that I got it done, that I did this, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. The only problem with how I did it is that you can't see that much of Dijkstra, which is a shame because I really, really like Dijkstra and I love drawing tigers, but I think it looks okay. You can still see enough of him that I think it makes sense. And I also fixed the whole him being too pale in the original piece, to the point where I don't know how many of you realised he was a pink tiger when I posted the original one. He is very obviously pink by the end of this video. For her outfit, I just stuck with the original one again because same with the previous drawings, my brain just was not braining, so I couldn't think of anything to come up with. Part of me wonders if that just means that the outfits she had on are like perfect for what I have in my head. Maybe that's why I couldn't think of any better ones, but I definitely do want to draw her in other outfits because it's like one of my favourite things to do is like dress her up like a Barbie and just put her through different phases. So with the original one, her outfit is, I think it's basically leather. I saw a technique of artists, I can't remember who they were, so I'm sorry I can't credit them, but back then, because my original one is done with alcohol markers and I was still learning how to use those at the time, I'd seen a technique of using a lot of black, but when you're colouring things in that are black, not colouring the whole thing in pure black. So that's what I wanted to do for her. So I coloured her, and I'm doing it here as well in this picture, but I coloured in her clothes initially, and I also left some white spots on the original one, but I didn't for this one. And then after I'd already coloured them in with like some nice colours, I went in and covered most of it with black. This was kind of to try and make it look like it was shiny and it had like a reflection or something, like it was reflecting the colours around it. So yeah, that's why she's wearing what she's wearing, because I wanted to try and use that new method, and it's very strange, but I think it is like a good kind of contradiction for the colours with it, especially in this piece here that I'm doing here, because I add a lot more colours, so then having a black part, like such a prominent black part, stands out a lot more than if it was like some other colour. So I think it works well. At this point is where I was getting really nervous though, because it is a very mid-tone picture at the moment. This is a matter of trusting the process, which I do struggle with. I do understand that if I keep working at it, there is a chance I will like it, but it is that like nagging feeling in the back of your head that this isn't it, this picture's wrong, you know? But I did keep working at it, which I'm very glad for, because I thought, what's to lose? I don't like it right now, so what am I going to lose by just keep working it? I just kept adding loads and loads of colours, which made it look way more interesting. And I add more shading to her later with some interesting colours that I think really helps make it look a bit more 3D. And just, you know, like I said, more interesting. I put some yellow highlights on her because I didn't think I had the glowing effect from the orb that I wanted. And I'm still not great, like I said earlier, with light studies, so it still kind of doesn't look amazingly like there's something glowing up there. You know, I tried. I do also think adding the red, like I mentioned earlier, has become like one of my favourite things to do in art lately, because I don't know why, but it just makes it look way more interesting. Maybe because it's such a like saturated colour, but it makes it look like it makes more sense. Especially on the gold parts, I think that just looks like dark reflections or something. But yeah, here I'm adding the black parts on her trousers, which I was actually hesitant to do. I put a dark blue down initially because I wasn't sure if I wanted the black clothing in this piece. It was very mid-tone, so I decided, what the heck, I'll just do the black. This is when I started thinking maybe this is gonna turn out alright, because now there is more contrast. And contrast is something that I think I struggle a lot with when it comes to doing coloured pieces. It's like something that I can't do very well, because I get scared if I have a piece that looks alright but it is mostly mid-tones. I'll be too scared to go in with darker colours or lighter colours, because I'll be like, the picture's already, I like how like the anatomy of everything looks, so what if I ruin it by trying to add these bits that will make it look better? I did it anyway for this piece, which was crucial. I fixed her face, which had been bugging me, and now she has a face that I really like how it ended up looking. And then it was on to Dijkstra, and I realised when I started Dijkstra, I was like, oh, I'm at the easy part now. Now that I fixed Kara, and I actually really like where she's at, this is smooth sailing from this point on. Started to really enjoy doing this, because like I mentioned earlier, I love drawing tigers, so I was really excited to get all the colours down on him and finally add those stripes, which also added some much needed contrast. For him, I didn't want to add too much black, because she had the black on her. I was worried that it would then like blend in too much. So when I add the stripes, I instead go in with this dark red. I think it's like a maroony colour, and that really helps for pushing the fact that he is a pink tiger. It really helps, because he is still so colourful because of it, and it just looks really nice. It's such a nice colour combination. I do go in with a dark blue as well to act as shading for the stripes. I mean, I think it looks really nice. It gives it way more depth, and it's still really colourful, and it darkens up the stripes in the shadows, which I really like. And then I go in and use a light blue for the pink parts, the parts that aren't striped. I then also give a bit of a flaw, because I realised that they were sitting on a white patch. I didn't want to leave it white because I think it would have made it look really unfinished. So moving on to the background, I didn't want to leave it the pale purple I'd started with. I wanted the purple as sort of a base to give me a bit of an idea and get the colours in my head, but I then decided I wanted to do something different with the background, because in the original I had left it as just a flat purple that I drew on top of, but I wanted to do something colourful in this piece, and I wanted to do a sort of explosion gradient in the sky. And you can see me here layering the different colours as it goes from the centre to the edge of the page. I was initially going to try and have like a blended gradient from the colours, but as you can see here, the texture that I did, I really like how jagged each colour is. So I do water them I do put water on them so that they're blended a bit, but I don't blend them into each other, so they keep their funky little shapes. And I just think it looks way more interesting, because now it gives that sense of something bursting from where the orb is supposed to be in the image, and I just really like the effect it has. So then I also went in with an orange to again act as glowing, and I added lines all over the place to kind of make it look like, well, I wanted more texture, but also to make it look like sun rays or light rays or something. And then I went in and outlined some parts of Dijkstra and Kara with black because it still needed to stand out a bit, and I really like how it looks, and I'm really happy with how this piece ended up. It is not at all what I had in my head when I started, but I am really happy with where it ended up. And like I said, it just gave me way more confidence with how I ended with my experience on these pencils. Yes, I really like how this piece ended. It's also so tiny. I don't know, it's really cute. I really like how it ended up. But yeah, you can see here, it did not affect the previous page at all. Yeah, I just find it really interesting to like, ooh, pencils, the difference between the two. This one I did back in 2021, so there is like a 4-year difference here, which I find like beyond fascinating. And although Dijkstra isn't in it as much, I think he looks better. This was a really interesting video for me to make. I really wanted to give these pencils a chance, and I really like how they worked. I would be interested to hear if you guys are like more acquainted with using watercolor pencils, if these look how these look compared to what you've done with them. Like, I think they're good, but then again, I haven't used that many, so I don't really have anything to compare it to. But yeah, this is my first like making art video this year, and it was really fun. I had a couple troubles with the editing, which I will need to fix. Other than that, everything went pretty smoothly. I'm really excited to be back, like I mentioned in my previous video, and I do have more collaborations planned, but I also want to mix in more of my own videos. But yeah, that is pretty much it for this video. I want to say a huge thank you to everyone who's made it this far and watched the video, and also a huge thank you to my Patreons: Disby, Megan Palmer, Grimclow, The Waffle of Life, Non-Toxic, Saint Nick's, LP, Kira May, Kay, Joanna, Sir Studalot, VB, Pretty Rotten, R.A. Foxy, Joanna Snake Moon, Humble Frogs, Vocal Fishkeeper, Mould Ghoul, Faraware, Sun Arts, Molly Marula, Scout Radley, Sammy Bear 127, Kenzania, Jade S, Arrow, Charlie, Malorus, Jess H30, Cindy King, Art by Lavender, Angel of the Woods, Rainbow Tea, Breaded Nuggets, Lindsay, Human Eye, The Moth Bug, Nox, Catbird House, The Tormented Shadow, Sweet and Hopeless, Pocket, Misfit, The Coffee Rain, Black Jackal Art, Leela Loves You, Halachu, Faith, A. Wendu, Cososcobs, Wolfenwares, Inky Slug, Olivia Gadbor, Feather, Cheris Needham, Rotting Lettuce, By Nixery, Cyrus Orion, Lawrence Marcoux, Brianna McGraw, Malbon Designs, QP Cowpoke, Gamut Girl, Dodo, Muminki, Catberry Studio, Rimrocks, and Solar Tortoise. Thank you guys so much for your support, and don't forget that there is a Discord specifically for my Patreons that you can access when you sign up. Links for these pencils will be in the description down below. Thank you guys so much again, and I will see you in the next video.